This is it, episode 583, No Laugh Track Podcast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Justin Severs and get to host this each and every week, including with guests that I used to see quite a bit. He'd headline here once a year. He would walk through the club here to take a shower, which I always thought was very strange.
It's a very normal thing. Very normal thing. First of all, don't put a shower in a place if you don't want people to take showers. How did I see? It's pretty obvious.
That's the voice of Cy Amundson.
Oh, that's our shower that we don't want people to take a shower in. It's a looking shower.
Hey, Brandon, back of the room, manager Brandon. How many people have used that shower since you've worked here besides Cy? Besides Cy, how many? 0. Okay.
I'm sorry that everybody that spends time around this facility is a fucking idiot. And that I understand what a shower's for. Just people here wiping their ass with, like, rakes and shit. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. We gotten off to a rough start. It's so nice to see you.
I miss those days. That's my point. I miss those days.
Hey,
that's my point.
And here's the thing. I don't know where things are at with the allegations. So I don't traffic in some of that stuff, but I'm just glad to see you. I'd heard some of the things, and then I came back, and so I'm glad to be here. I see that the staff for the podcast has shrunk significantly, and I saw some of your posts about DEI online. So I didn't know if it was that or if it was the allegation stuff. Like I said, I don't like to gossip and traffic in other people's business. So
a little look behind the curtain here. Right before we started recording, you asked Lewis, the owner, if his son was around, and he said no. Another DEI.
Yeah. I'm never gonna see him. I'm not gonna speak about other people's children on the podcast because I have class, Justin. This is why the staff on this show keeps shrinking. That's what's happening here.
I probably wasn't Brandon helping last time you did this podcast.
It couldn't have been. It couldn't have been.
I don't think so. Okay, so I've been waiting. You haven't been here on this podcast since Valentine's Day of 2019, sir.
Sure.
Yep. A long time.
Yes.
In between that date and today, I've only seen you once in person. That was about a week or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
You were here doing middle of somewhere, and then I was going to record afterwards.
And can I guess what you're going to say next?
Go.
You're curious what I think about the Silk Road. So, they pardoned the guy who was in charge of the Silk Road. And I know what you're thinking. We pardoned a lot of people. Is it that big of a deal? What did this guy really do wrong besides helping heroin get trafficked and people to traffic child pornography and people to have the ability to hire hitmen, which I thought was only in the movies because of how naive I am. Because I think a lot of people hire people to murder other people, mainly low-rent wives in the Appalachian states who pay a surprisingly low amount of money to try to get their husband killed. By the way, if you offer someone $300 to kill your husband and they say yes, that's a cop. That's definitely a cop. Anyway, but
minimum's thousands.
Yes.
Right?
No, so yeah, I just think the pardon, you're right, the pardoning of the Silk Road guy, it was interesting. And I've had a lot of thoughts on it, but it's a little in the past. I mean, it was a full month ago. So are you going to ask me anything current?
No, this goes way back. This goes years, in fact. This goes
sure.
back to an episode of Middle of Somewhere.
Okay.
I used to listen to every week, and then this episode happened, and I stopped. That's a lie, actually. No.
Wow,
Love the show. I'm taking you to task right now, sir.
Okay,
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, task
Are you ready?
me, Daddy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Spin me around
years
and
ago,
task
Middle
me.
of Somewhere podcast, before you had a child.
Mm-hmm.
You told one of your many stories about going into a grocery store.
Sure.
But before, in the parking lot, someone was changing a diaper.
Yes, correct. Do you want me to tell the people listening exactly what happened?
Yes. And
A
now
guy.
and then after you say that, then say how you feel about that now, having a child.
Okay. Well, I was in the parking lot of a grocery store, and somebody was changing their baby in the back of their SUV. Which, by the way, I get for the grocery store that you are at does have changing stations. Maybe it's an emergency situation. Maybe it's a blowout. Maybe there's stuff dripping. I understand everything that everybody messaged me who disagreed with me. My point was, Why was the baby so far out to the edge and so visible? There's no I don't care how bad your diaper is. I should never see your kid's penis in a public parking lot. I'm sorry. It's just, it shouldn't happen. And I got a lot of messages that said, just wait till you have a kid.
Yeah.
And I have a son.
I never sent that message, but
you were thinking
head.
it. Well, and I think that was, I understand why a lot of you guys said that, because now I have a son who is 18 months old. Fucking zero, none. All the fucking chain. No one has ever seen my son's penis in a parking lot.
That's what you think. 'Cause I have a couple special guests here today.
I've never been more emboldened in my, how is your baby not more covered up in this parking lot situation? Change him in the back seat. Do anything other than this. I was right. Anyone who messaged me, you're a lazy bad parent. Just like Justin.
So you're not saying that, your son...
Is this the most unlikable start to a podcast
so what
in
you're
league
saying,
history?
Yes, what you're saying is...
Why am I so aggressive?
All right, fine.
Yeah, okay. No, I have yet to change a diaper in...
Ever? Dude.
This sort of public situation. A lot of diapers have been changed in public, but we always take a minute and go, where do we got to get to? So walker buyers aren't that close to our baby's crotch. Call us old-fashioned.
I'm going to throw out one more scenario, and then we'll move on to something else
sure.
Here. Let's say you're
we stay here for the whole show.
All right, let's say you're at the Minnesota State Fair.
Okay.
And maybe they do have changing tables, but you don't want to use that because it's utterly disgusting.
Sure.
Do you just put the kid down in the grass like I've done multiple times, changing diapers of kids at the State Fair? And there's people everywhere eating.
I mean, I think I'd rather eat rat poison than bring a diapered age child to the Minnesota State Fair. So I don't know that I can traffic in this scenario. In this thing, I would say, you couldn't get somebody to watch your kid? You wanted to bring your baby to, what do you think he was going to be like? Food. Like how, what is a baby like about the State Fair?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
No, okay, fine. You cornered me, and it's for the pictures on social media.
Yeah.
You can go, look, she had such a good time.
Oh, she's in front of the cookie shop.
Look, she has ketchup on her fingers.
Yeah,
so
didn't
cute.
we take, yeah. Oh, look at all these pictures that definitely someday won't be the property of someone else because we're all posting stuff that we don't understand. It's like mineral rights. That's what social media is. It's like owning property in Arkansas in 1940 and some guy coming to your property and going, can I have mineral rights on your property? And you're like, you're going to give me 20 grand for whatever mineral rights is? And you take it, and then 85 years from now, they're like, do you know that there's one of the largest lithium deposits in the whole world right underneath this spot in Arkansas? And we get that forever. That's like, it's like you're just putting these pictures of your kids up, and someday we don't know where, how, and what those are going to go.
Yes.
I do think there's a world where 50 years from now, all your private messages on social media will be archived and searchable for anyone that is in your family lineage. I think that's a very real thing. You don't own those, so think of all the sketchy, bad shit you've done in DMs, which isn't a lot. It's not a small amount given the allegations.
My wife already saw that stuff when we first started dating.
Well, what do you think your grandkids are going to think about it? Because I think at some point there will be a database. I just don't I don't think there's governance around. I'm not smart enough to understand that. What's next?
Let's see. I got 4 more things. I'm on middle of somewhere. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, great.
I'm kidding. Let's talk about last night. It was awesome. I was here.
Last night was very fun. It was very weird. It was very fun.
I mean, obviously, amazing to see you here on stage because it's been so freaking long. So that was just so cool.
Yeah.
Why was it weird? Why do you say that?
I don't know. I mean, I think I was probably weird. I think this place, you get to be the most authentic version of yourself. And that's not always a good idea for me. That's a leash. You give me a leash, and I think there were a couple of moments last night where there was a voice in my head going, "Hey, reel it in a little bit." And so
I think I know when you're talking about.
Yeah,
There was a. You do a lot of voices. You're not.
I think I do voices. I certainly poorly use hillbilly I use hillbilly inflections often. Voices makes it sound like
that's true.
I'm up there doing Tom Cruise.
Right. You're not showing off your Morgan Freeman impression. No.
I would say I do subpar dialects.
There you go. Subpar. I'll just say dialects. You could say subpar. Yeah, there were you. At one point last night, you're like, I could do this forever.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the beginning of the show. And a character, and then I just kind of did.
Yes.
And then I did it pretty much the whole show. Yep.
I never got tired of it personally.
Okay, well, that's you, and there was one other lady that felt that way. And one guy.
You know what those people are? The hardcore comedy fans.
Yeah, those are the people who truly understand.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
me and her.
I like to, whatever 3% of 128 people is. Well, it'd be 3%, but whatever percentage 3 is of 128. What's next, Justin?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, it was wonderful to be. I think there is there's not a lot of clubs in America where you are getting to do exactly what you want and you feel like you can recover if it doesn't go the way you want it to.
Yeah.
And I think this place is number 1 on that list. And so that's what, there's probably too much, probably was taking too much liberty in that category last night, but that's the great thing about being here.
And coming to a Wednesday night show with no time limits.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's in the back of your mind, right? Like, I don't have to be out of here because there's no second show.
Yeah, I think that's why Acme staff voted me their least favorite comedian of the past 2 decades, is my complete unwillingness to understand the time frames of when people want to go home. It was great. Like, just to keep going until you don't want to go. And I don't think, like, I don't like performing for the sake of, like, it was more waiting to be like, when are these people going to tell me they don't want it anymore? And then you go, okay, I'll go home.
That's not going to happen here.
Yeah, I'll go home.
Come on, that's not going to happen here. You have, I mean, I've, obviously been seeing you perform for a decade plus.
Sure.
And, You are very open about some things sometimes. Like I remember you and I, you have material about it in the past. We've talked about it on this podcast in the past about having like ADD type stuff. Like I'm counting this many
OCD,
times.
yeah.
OCD, pardon me.
Yeah.
Counting this many times. The light
ADD's
switch.
fake. The ADHD epidemic is fake. You ever ask yourself, camera, why there's so many children being diagnosed with ADHD today versus back in the 40s and 50s? You ever wonder? Huh? Do ya? It's my new character.
Does it have to do with
He doesn't answer. He just says, do you ever wonder?
It's the something to ponder guy?
Yeah, you ever wonder? Huh? What's that? Where are we at?
No indication of how you think about it. Just, you ever wonder?
Hey, listen here. The MMR vaccine used to have traces of lead in it. They say there's no lead in it no more. You ever wonder? So
what I was going to bring up was one of the very. I think it might have been the first.
You brought up my mental health history. Yep. So now let's get to the fun part.
Yeah. I see your notes. Your big page. Of
these are the notes I left up here last night.
From your little notes about what your bits from last night. And the first one is Troy.
They're big notes. Big notes about my bits.
Big notes.
Go ahead.
Big jokes, big notes. Troy. Now, if just giving someone the name Troy and that's the basis of a joke, you would never in a million years guess what that is about. You don't need to say it now, but holy fuck, that bit is fucking killer, dude.
Oh, thank you.
Killer.
Yeah,
and it
thank you. Yeah.
I assume it's true.
It's 100% true.
And that's what I'm getting at is your description of how some of your behavior as a child is so fucking
I was just going to say, you know what I think is great radio? Describing something without describing it. You ever wonder what this guy is fucking talking about right now? We can talk about it. So it's based on a true thing. Like, this won't give the joke away. Yeah. Who really listens to this? Everybody listens to it. What do we get? Brandon, we knock down the views on YouTube so people listen on audio, right? Just like we do on Middle of Somewhere. Yeah, thank you. Just like we do on Middle of Somewhere. As a kid, I used to I used to dress up and pretend to be a mom and carry a Cabbage Patch doll around all the time. And, people are usually chill about that stuff. And so it's not a joke about, the societal aspect of gender or any of that bullshit. It's just like a real story about me and my family and how they handled that. I have a whole, what I'm working on this week is just a whole hour of just stand-up material that I really like. And then, what I'd been working on prior to that is I have a whole special about some of the health stuff I've gone through. It's
really?
Yeah, it's like an hour 10. Yeah, and I'm gonna record it here in town. I just I've been trying to figure out I've been so pumped to come back here, but it's like I want to accomplish so much in coming back here because I wanted to come back and I want to work on my material and I want to record this hour about that part of my life. But I don't want to, it still needs a little bit of work.
Okay.
And so I don't want to, all the people here that are coming this week are the same people who I will want to see that, the fans that have been here forever. And so that is kind of buried over here and I'll come record that at some point. And then this new hour, I'll get that ready to record. Yeah, whatever. But that joke, Troy, was written for that hour.
Oh.
But it's such a good standalone joke that I wanted to open with it to have everybody go, he's pretty good, and then I do the rest of what I do for the next 55 minutes. But yeah, the first time, every once in a while you write a joke, everyone's rarely, a few times in your career where you write something and it just hit. So Kelsey Cook was down in Cincinnati where I live now. She and Tommy Brennan, and I stopped down to do a guest set at Go Bananas down there, and I had just written it.
Yeah.
And I took it up on stage, and Kelsey's crowds are so good. It's a fun group to perform in front of. But I did it, and it hit in this way that I've almost never experienced with it. I think Tommy or somebody came out of the kitchen. He was like, "What the fuck was that?" It was, and so ever since then, it's just been, I don't know. You just every once in a while, in 20 years, you get lucky and have one that just really works.
Absolutely killer.
Yeah, it just really works.
So I want to go back here.
I like that some people will watch this and then they'll come out and they'll be like, "That one? I don't know. That was fine."
Oh, well, they're wrong. But
you're fucking wrong.
They're wrong. So you're saying that in the last 5-6 years, you put together an hour that's separate from what I saw last night.
In the last year and a half, 2 years, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I took a lot of time off.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like when I came back. So right before I had to take a break because of some of the health stuff, I had a pretty big chunk of material that I was going to I remember Lewis. And what's that? You want me to do an impression? Okay. I remember Lewis. I called him a few weeks into the pandemic because I was going to record a special here at Acme with a big chunk of material that I really liked. And I remember going should we be worried about me recording this in June? He's like, "No, it's going to be fine." And yes, that sounded like a cartoon dragon, but that's the way I want you, the people, to think of him. And I just remember, 2 years later, laughing really hard about that one day.
Right.
That did not pan out the way he and I had hoped it would.
Yeah.
And so, then when I had to take the break for health stuff, so that was 2020. Last time so it was a 3-year gap in between getting on stage at a comedy club.
Damn.
And the next time was when I got on with Chad, right?
Yeah.
And so that gap, in that time period, a lot of that chunk, some of it kind of was I don't really want this anymore. It kind of fell. But a few pieces stayed around, and a couple of them are now in what you saw last night. There's 2 or 3 things out of the set last night that made it into there. And then I think what happened was I started writing about that experience. Because basically what happened was, and I can tell you this without... I don't want to tell you that. Who cares? The point is, something happened in Cincinnati related to my health and that journey and all that stuff.
Okay.
That was a really weird, interesting, funny story. And then I just go, oh, well, maybe I should I'll write that, and then I started writing other things that had happened in that time period, and before you know it, I was working on this whole thing, and then it kind of became this unique challenge of like, I think a lot of people, you write a joke and then you finish it and then you write another joke, and if they fit together, great, and you just put stuff in order and you do what you do. But this thing, it was kind of, the story was inescapable, I guess.
Okay.
Where like it was just true. It's what happened. And so I couldn't, to get from the beginning of the story to where I was going to end the hour, like there was just a path that you couldn't swerve around. You just had to walk it.
Okay.
And so there were all these parts that were just had to be talked about, but I really wanted them to be funny. I didn't want to give a speech. And so
That's important.
It was a really like interesting thing to do. And like really challenging, and but that's probably not why it maybe came together fast, but why maybe I've been able to build two things in the last. I mean, it's not that. I mean, fuck, Chad writes a lot of these guys, people who are great. They write an hour.
There aren't a lot that do that though.
But I think the comics that we really love and respect, the ones going today, Dan Soder's churning out an hour every year or two. Asmus is turning out, Chad's doing it. A lot of these people, best-selling, that we really like.
Yeah.
They're maybe it's a half hour some years, it's an hour and a half the other years, it's 40 minutes. Like, for me, I think 2 years. I need a good 2 years. I don't like. It's because I'm worried that I'm gonna finish. Like, I wrote a joke when I was younger, and I put it on an album, and then, like, a year after that, I wrote a way better version of the end of it that like made it a completely different joke. I was like, oh fuck, and so now I think I'm just a psycho about wanting stuff to be.
Pete Lee's been on this podcast and said stuff like that. Like, he's had a joke and then recorded it and been like, now I got 7 different better ways to do it, and he keeps doing it.
Yeah,
and just doing the better version.
Yep,
in his opinion, which normally is, right?
Yeah, correct.
I want to ask you. You always lived in Minnesota for the most part, up until a few years ago.
Lived in LA for quite
a
while.
You did go to LA for
That's right. Yeah, Minnesota to LA, back to Minnesota to Cincinnati, yeah.
Do you now you're a homeowner down there, correct? As you mentioned on stage last night?
Yes, I've bought a house. Thank you. In this market.
Do you think you'll stay there for who knows?
Well, I have to, because I got to pay for the fucking house.
Wow, people move, sell houses.
I don't know that that's the way it's going to keep going. Probably. I really miss my family. I really miss Minnesota's. It's interesting. Minnesota, and please don't message me. I don't care what any of you think about anything. But the way states fund certain things, I think, is relevant. And this state is steadfast on funding public parks, on the way they deal with everybody bitches about roads here. Come to Ohio, bro.
Really?
The way they've built their roads, the shoulder, if you go off the pavement, like, you know how we hit a brrr, and then there's another 1.5 feet and then maybe a ditch? In Ohio, you're like, boom, and your car's like it's off the road.
Okay.
They were like, what's the least amount of money we can spend to pave a road?
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of the aspects of Minnesota, the education system, the hospital systems, when you live here, you see some people complain about stuff, and I think until you live somewhere else, you only know what you know. But Minnesota's a pretty unbelievable state in the way that they have built the universe, like the universe that you live in, right? The public universe. And so I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
I miss my family a lot, but it's so cold here.
It is.
That's the thing. Once you move away, and Ohio's not that much warmer, but we're in like Cincinnati, so we're in southern Ohio. Dude, it's like the winter's over at the end of February.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah, this is brutal.
This is not cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is brutal. Have you become a Cincinnati sports fan at all?
No. What? Hey, wait, who's your new favorite team? The Bengals owner who doesn't have enough to buy anything, so they always don't get players, or the team that used to be owned by that Nazi lady?
That's right.
Which one do you like?
The good old. Hey, that's the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
Justin, I know what you're doing, and you're not going to turn this podcast political, okay? I get it. We've heard you. It was a Roman salute. We heard you. But I don't want to talk politics on the show. Do you understand? Fucking thank you. Brandon, why didn't you give him the notes? Why didn't you give him the notes? So the founder of the Silk Road was pardoned and likely has billions hidden in
Can we take a break to read the
Bitcoin.
Tesla commercial right now, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Tesla, it's a car that sucks. It sucks.
What is your favorite comedy catchphrase these days? Is it still "Get her done"?
I mean, first of all, I do love Get Her Done.
I know.
I think it seems like a lot of guys are going with Sieg Heil these days. Or at least that's what their act says to me. I have become a fan of actually one Cincinnati sports team. I was lying. I have. I like the soccer team a lot. I never gave a shit about soccer here. And then I moved down there, and the physical therapy place I go to, that guy, some of the soccer players train there. That guy's a huge soccer fan.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And that was right around the time of the World Cup, and when I moved down there, and that World Cup was really great. It was a really, really good World Cup.
Sure.
And so I got sucked in, and so yeah, I am full in on FC Cincinnati.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You go to matches then?
No, I mean, but that's not an indicator of whether or not I like stuff. I'm not a big go to stuff guy.
Do you paint your face when you're watching at home?
I sure don't.
Okay.
Do you paint your face at home? Because I saw your Halloween pictures last year, and I know you're hoping that the changes will allow that sort of stuff to come back. Which I don't have a comment on one way or the other. One way or the other.
It was a family costume. You're being rude.
Yeah, okay. His whole family went as the Jamaican bobsled team.
Ire. I want to know if you've heard about this. I was actually leading to something when I brought up the catchphrases.
Okay, great. No,
We
that
know
wasn't just a non sequitur.
I mean, it could have been. You might be a redneck. I know you've fallen in love with
Here's the thing,
Foxworthy.
I will not say. You will not hear a bad word about Jeff Foxworthy.
I know.
Out of
I've
my
heard you
mouth.
talk
I
about
love
him.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Do you know the comedian Peter Kay from the United Kingdom, UK? The richest comedian, makes more money than Ricky Gervais these days.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of this guy?
I don't
Peter
really
Kay.
learn about stuff outside my country.
Perfect.
Are you going to tell me about it?
I'm going to read you a quick story. I want you to get your thoughts
How do you
on
spell
this.
K?
K-A-Y.
Okay.
K. Peter
Like
Kay.
like the jeweler.
Every kiss begins. He said he had no choice.
That's also part of, just as a heads up, you're going to have to edit that out. That's part of the allegations. Speaking of, that's your catchphrase.
Every kiss begins with.
Justin got fired from another job, and he used his catchphrase with the young waitresses.
I want to know if you've heard this guy's catchphrase, all right? He had no choice but to ask security to eject 2 hecklers at his show this past Saturday because of their repeated disruptions made it, quote, impossible to continue.
Mm-hmm.
The comedian asked staff at the arena to remove a man who shouted his catchphrase, "Garlic bread."
Yeah, I mean, that's hilarious. Do you not think don't you understand why that's super funny without any context?
I don't, and I even Googled it, and I still don't get the context. Apparently this
Justin,
guy...
garlic bread.
Oh, wait. Oh, no. Okay, now... Jesus, dude. No, I still
Yeah,
don't
you
get it.
pull it together. Here's the thing. I don't care about any of that.
Garlic bread.
Nothing has ever been less important to me than that. And I spent part of today trying to get a car in to get its rotors fixed in Ohio, even though I'm in Minnesota. And I cared about that so little that I would have, if somebody would have said, we actually just rolled the car into the river. So it's pretty impressive that you found something that is that unimportant to me as an overall thing. Here's what I'll tell you.
That you're going to start use that in your act tonight, please. Garlic bread.
Garlic bread. I think it's such a, I stopped doing stand-up for a while and I've come back. And I think one of my favorite parts is how willing the audience is to be a part of the art itself.
Yeah,
And
you
how,
caught that, huh?
I love it.
I
There are
bet.
some people who are haters who don't love it. I love it. I also love generally, when you go around the country, usher and bouncer staff's unwillingness to interject with those people. I think the mixture of that is, I think, that's where the new beautiful material will come out of. So I love it. It's been a real treat. It's been a real treat.
I appreciate your honesty.
No problem. I think it's cool.
How I noticed you don't have a TikTok account. How do you do this job and not have a TikTok account, sir?
What's TikTok?
I just can't even believe it. I'm proud of you. Actually.
I'm asking a real question. What's TikTok?
It's where.
What if that was the character? What if that's who I was as a man? I actually didn't know what TikTok was. Somehow it escaped me.
I'm proud of you.
I think social media is evil. And then Acme put up one of my clips and it got like 50,000 views. So I'm pretty on board now.
Funny. How
People think I'm great.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm just thinking out loud here. I would listen to Middle of Somewhere the whole time that your wife was pregnant. No mentions of a baby coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm thinking maybe you have a TikTok under a different name.
No.
Uh-huh.
No.
Mr. Privacy. I get it now.
Should we? So I think social media. It's impressive when you think about how evil it is, but like basically, they are so advanced in because they have our behavioral data, and because they can understand exactly how I think the scientific way that they can build addiction is something so like horrifically unique that we can't. I think most of us can't even process how awful it is. It's like if beer companies had studied the exact amount of time in between drinks it took to turn you into an alcoholic, found out, then showed up at your house and put the beer in your mouth and tilted it and go open your lips. Like that's what it is. And, and how that plays on, your mental makeup. So I think back during, from 2016 to 2020 in that election, I was, pretty involved in social media.
Oh, dude, you were one of the most entertaining follows.
Yeah, well,
arguing with people
and without integrity. I was just I just like to fight with people.
Yes.
And so, but then like
I was there for it.
Yeah, that sucked. And so something happened like in 2021. I had a pretty decent sized Twitter following, which is easily the most poisonous platform, in my opinion. I like how they've now, anyone can have a check mark. I think that's because if you liked Twitter for sports stuff or for world events or news, what you would do is you'd go see something that a journalist or somebody had written, and then because they prioritized the blue check marks, it'd basically be like, then you'd get all the other people in that space that commented, and it was kind of this way to learn about sports or the world, and now that it's just, that's not the way it is anymore. But I think in 2021, somebody hacked my Twitter and turned it into like an Elon Musk Bitcoin account, like a Doge account or whatever, or buy a crypto account. And a bunch of people told me, and I just never got it back. I just didn't try to get it back. I just it was like quitting cigarettes, like day of.
Cold turkey.
And I just let it go, and then I will go on Facebook to post, but I don't have the app on my phone. So if I need to, I'll go in and do work stuff.
Yeah.
And I had kept Instagram and kept somewhat active on Instagram because I still liked the aspect of like, oh, you're seeing all your friends' photo albums, but they've just gamified that at such an extreme level to build their stream where they like. And I think it's even hard for creators because now 20% of your posts or stories are being seen at most. So 20% of your audience is seeing something. It's hard to promote. They're just basically, they want divisive, sexual, like captivating content. You could spend forever posting all these reels. They're going to take the one that they think is really going to grab people's attention. They're going to put it over on their stream, and they're just building their stream. And so, I'll still post on there for work or every time, or if I have a funny picture or something like that. But yeah, and I never got on TikTok, and I don't know. I think it's funny how addicting it is. Like, to stop using Instagram, what I had to fucking do, and maybe I'm pathetic, but you go into Instagram and it has like there's the little thing where you can click the button for the stream.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that third button over where you go and you just start scrolling and doom scrolling through shit.
Oh, yeah.
Instinctually, I would open my phone, click that, and when I open that, I would click that button. So I put a little piece of tape on my phone to remind myself, just like how often I was doing it, and like slowly weaned off of doing that. And
wore the piece of tape off?
Yeah. I mean, I think people are right when they say, like, if you're doing stand-up in today's day and age, the fact that you don't have a TikTok is detrimental. And so, I mean, my friend Cody and I were just talking about that is, I probably should cut up a bunch of old clips and put stuff on TikTok just on the odd chance that it benefits the career. But I have escaped the looking at stuff on TikTok.
Good for you.
And if I get sucked in, I'll get sucked in.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. I know I recently bought a fish tank for my house. We're getting fish. We did get fish.
Okay.
And I started doing some research on that.
I didn't know you were like a full-on rapist.
Kids, how do you think I get so many people to visit? Come see my aquarium.
Dude.
Come see. It's in the basement.
What are you getting next? A pet snake?
Dude, that's right next to the fish.
Okay.
The snake died. We had to get something new.
Okay. So
but at one moment, I was very impressed at like my because I do use TikTok sometimes,
Yeah.
and I was impressed that my feed went from just girls with like
their butts out.
yeah, and now
Dude, my feed.
and now it's girls with their butts out cleaning their fish tanks.
Oh, well, that's combining two things.
Yeah.
My wife and I have gotten into this a lot because there's I think one of the most toxic places on the universe is the parenting influencer universe, because social media, these things, like, dude, like I've worked in the sports world that does this. Like, they're trying to engage, they want clicks, so they like. But the problem is, like, because they think they're learning stuff. They're like, oh, I learned this. And you do learn some stuff. You gather, but it's all built in a very specific way that's disingenuous to the learning process. And what it ultimately ends up doing, no matter how pure your intentions start out. Like, I want to start a TikTok for moms with ADHD kids. Like, no matter how it starts, eventually, because of the way the system is built, you win in a certain way, and so you start building stuff that wins. You're not just going to keep making shit and feeding it into the machine with no reward. And then you have people like my wife and other moms and parents who, like, they're exposed to this stuff, and it's so much, pseudo expertise without information behind it. It's all like, they say they're being positive, but like what's really underneath it is something that scares the living shit out of you.
Yes.
Dude, it sucks. It sucks.
I'm glad that your wife
So
listens
bad.
to this podcast, from what I've heard, so she'll get that message.
Yeah, she's a big fan of all my stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sure she'll listen to this one.
Yeah. In case you don't want to say that to her directly, she just heard it now.
Oh,
so
we've
it's
had the
perfect.
conversation. We've had the conversation. It's funny because when a few years ago we'd be watching TV, but she'd be like, "Did you get off your fucking phone? Let's hang out." And now it is completely reversed. But in fairness to her, here's what I like. Raising a kid is hard, and being a mom to a baby and a toddler, you spend so much time just like locked in a place.
Oh yeah.
And because my son he dealt with some oxygen, not oxygen. He had some breathing issues that he had to be on oxygen. And so he ended up having to co-sleep a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's just spent a good portion of time just trapped under a baby that's asleep. And so that's, what are you going to do?
Oh, yeah.
You got your phone in front of you. Are you going to play solitaire?
There's still a game that reminds me of laying down with my oldest girls when they were tiny, that I would lay in bed next to them, waiting for them to fall asleep, but I played this baseball game. It still makes me think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So she gets full pass from me on that.
Fair enough. Is there anything else we should be mentioning here, sir? I think the weekend, is it completely sold out, I heard, or almost?
Oh, they can't be completely sold out.
Saturday late, maybe 20, 30 tickets. We're recording this Thursday. Thursday sold out? Very close. So call Acme, go on the website, get tickets while you can.
Yep, and Justin was at last night, so if any of you guys are worried about the allegations, because are you coming this weekend at all?
This will be it.
Okay, then you guys are good. Now, I don't like to, this is America. Is this America?
God bless it.
You're damn right it's America. And so until he is proven guilty in a court of law, it's not my job to decide what really happened and what your intentions were. Okay? I don't need to know why you had 3 different sized Bambi outfits. I shouldn't even say it. But I want you to know that I'm not willing to put my reputation on the line for you. I want you to know that. Okay. But I am willing to withhold judgment throughout the proper process. And if you are exonerated, I'm right here for you.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, and that's also part of the allegations. That's a big part of the allegations.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, I care about you. Thank you.